I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at villageXchange@gmail.com and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go in the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy our merch.
Buy our merch indeed. The child shall lead them.
To buy our merch.
Yes, dear listener. Yes, dear
The
listener.
Doors, When the Music is Over, is up
boy.
next.
Oh boy, The Doors, When the Music is Over. Okay, we've got an entire stream of Doors music because of the big homie DJ Nick. That's the name, that's the picture. Okay guys, here we go. This is the next Doors song. If you are a fan of the show, I want to encourage you to pay very, very, very close attention to these lyrics because this guy is super lyrical. But at the same time, also listen out for his bandmates because they are the perfect complement to each other for sure. Okay, here we go. The Doors, When the Music's Over. Okay, guys, here we go. This is The Doors, When the Music is Over. Let's go.
with your ear down to the ground. We want the world and we want it. We want the world and we want it. Now.
Wake up! Put on a little makeup!
But you like me. Still I like me. So when the music's over, when the music's over, yeah. When the music's over, turn out the lights, turn out the lights, turn out the lights. While the music is your special friend, dance on fire is intense. Easy is your only friend. Till the end, until the end, until the end.
Woo!
Wow.
Music is your only friend. This boy didn't bring any sugar whatsoever in that coffee.
You done?
None. Go ahead.
Man, they really must think that you're just some kind of a machine.
That's okay. That's all right.
Okay. Again, another smooth. I think the doors are just very, very, very smooth. I think AT missed it when I put it up there.
That's mine.
Well, say what you want, but it's on my side of the desk.
It froze, and I was really confused for a sec. Music is yeah. He always has these things that like stay in your head that won't leave you. And
Yeah.
I think it's because the bass line is so hard.
Yeah.
That, like it just burrows into your brain.
I don't like the word burrows. That's gross. Makes me think of that person's situation.
Having touched on both bands, how would you line up the Doors with that Iron Butterfly song you guys did a while back? That's an interesting question. Ask me again at the end of this stream. We've got a couple more songs left, and they're all Doors. So ask me again because that's an intriguing question, and it'll probably change. My answer right now is probably be different than the answer I give you later. Okay.
Okay, so
What did you like about the song? Let's start there.
I just loved how smooth it was. Again, it just makes me feel chill, and I agree with AT. Like, it would just be fun to just like sit back with some goodies and just listen to the Doors. When it did the chorus, when the music's over,
Stay away from girls like that.
turn Turn out the lights.
Daniel Montgomery. Stay away.
You know what it reminded me of? Remember that church we used to go to where, like, when it was over, they'd shut off the lights?
Oh. Yes. Yeah. Get the fuck out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, what about you? What did you think?
Oh, I loved it. Obviously, my favorite part instrument. First of all, I don't know if that was organ. I don't know what it was, but like the opening riff of that song is very, very familiar to me. I feel like I saw it in some sort of, or heard it in some Quentin Tarantino movie. But obviously the highlight for me was the solo, because it was like, the whole time it was like this chill, chill vibe. And then the solo hit, and it wasn't like jarring. It wasn't jarring like raw, but it was like, yo, you just got rapidly shot up into some portal.
I felt like something was coming.
Yeah.
So I was very prepared for it.
Oh, okay, yeah. For me, I was kind of chilling, listening to it, and then it's like, boom, you get shot into this very, very colorful portal. Before, everything was kind of like a low tinge of blue. Very low tinge of blue. You're just sailing around, enjoying the atmosphere, and then boom, you get hyperlinked into some purples and greens and fractal colors and DMT shit. But I've never really heard that before musically. Usually the contrast is from like quiet to loud, melodic to heavy, that kind of oppositional kind of thing. And I love that. I'm a sucker for that. But this one was also kind of oppositional, but it was different. It was like you're going in a hyperdrive. I love that part. That was my favorite part. That was actually my favorite moment of the night, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Lyrically, once again, I got thrown off. I was like, what are we doing here? Because we were talking about music being over, turning off the lights. When the music is your best friend, dance on fire as it intends. Music is your only friend until the end. That I think is relatable to a lot of people. And I think that's part of why the reaction channels became so popular, is because when I first saw their whole reaction channel genre, I thought it was the oddest thing in the world. I couldn't believe that somebody would want to watch somebody they don't even know listening to music. But then, we did the POD one, and that, like, the way that felt, like, reacting to that, I was like, I could see how if there's songs that you really like and you get to see people, like, what is their experience compared to your own experience as you first listen to a song? Like, I totally can see the draw to it now. Because I think that music for a lot of people is like, that is our connection. That is our special friend. And I think that music is not just sound, but that it is connections. And that's why when we go to a show, we can connect with other people that are listening to the same type of music as us, even though we've never met them before, but you sort of feel that connection and that sort of camaraderie when you're there. 100%. And I think that that's because something, I don't know, I think that friendship can be found through it. So, and I think that's why music makes us feel less alone, even if we are alone. Kind of like a fire. They say if you get lost in the woods that you should build a fire safely. Because the fire is essentially like living. And so it helps you from going crazy, feeling like I'm trapped and I'm alone. And I think that music kind of functions that way. It has this sort of like living, like obviously, the big homie passed away, but like his music still has like this sort of aliveness to it that we are all experiencing together. So I do like the element of the friendship with the music thing. When he went into the cancel my subscription to the Resurrection, send my credentials to the House of Detention, I got some friends inside. What is going on? Then the face in the mirror won't stop. The girl in the window won't drop. A feast of friends alive, she cried, waiting for me outside. I start getting so confused.
Well, yeah, but I do think it's talking about the afterlife, I think. Cancel my subscription to the Resurrection. Like, he doesn't want to come back here. And when we listened to the previous song, he basically said we had to invent the concept of an afterlife to justify why this life sucks so bad.
Yeah.
Right? So he's saying, so that's him, like, rejecting that from like an earthbound perspective, but this seems to be rejecting that even from the other side. Like, cancel my subscription to the resurrection. Like, I don't want any parts of it. Send my credentials to the house of detention. Meaning, I think that's a clever way of saying I'd rather go to hell, basically.
Yeah.
Right, because the house of
Okay, I
detention,
see that.
like, those are
I got some friends inside. Yep.
Credentials. You know, like, that's something to validate that you belong there. Whereas we would look at, you know, your credentials to qualify for hell as your judgment, which is something you want erased.
Yeah.
But he's looking at it as credentials, which would then validate, and he's basically fighting for his position in hell, in my opinion. Because he's saying, cancel my subscription to the resurrection, send my credentials to the house of detention. That would be where the bad people go. I got some friends inside. You know, people say like, oh, I'd rather go to hell because all my friends are there.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I got some friends inside.
I used to have a teacher when I was in college, and he'd be like, if anybody ever says that to you, just tell them the party's been canceled due to the fire. He like had all of these like little like jabby quotes, and I'm like, it was like funny because it, you know, but then you were like,
God, that is so
in what
horrible.
circumstance would I say that to somebody?
The party's canceled due to the fire. That's so bad.
Oh man,
Holy
shout out to
shit.
the homie.
You literally the religious people that you grew up with are the worst collection of religious people I've ever seen in my life. It's unbelievable. I'm so surprised that you came out the way that you did.
Well, you know, there are some days you should say, this explains that. Oh man.
Yeah. So we continue on the lyrics. Go ahead, keep going.
The face in the mirror won't stop. The girl in the window won't drop. A feast of friends, alive, she cried, waiting for me outside.
Yeah, so I think the face in the mirror won't stop is he knows that he himself, that he can't be good enough to enter into heaven. And the girl in the window, I would assuming that's his vice, you know, girls. And he's got an endless supply of those. So he himself knows that he's not really that good of a person in his own estimation to warrant heaven. And plus, on top of that, he's not going to give up knocking out those ladies because he's a famous rock star. He's actually a pretty handsome fella as well.
Oh, really?
And he's a poet.
Well,
Chicks dig the poet.
On one of the songs, like, that's true. It's true. On one of the songs, it said, like, I think it was like the first one or something. It was saying that he, like, apparently impregnated a lot of different women.
I could believe that.
So,
I could believe that.
So yeah, that just kind of goes to your assessment. I mean,
well, what year was he? 67, all that. Yeah,
67 again.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. But so that was a really, really interesting line. That whole stanza obviously caught my attention. Cancel my subscription to the resurrection.
Yeah.
But you know, when the music is over, turn out the lights. You know, music is my only friend until the end.
What? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna
What
say?
is the scream of the butterfly? Because he says, before I sink into the big sleep, obviously, I want to hear the scream of the butterfly. What's that supposed to mean? Come back, baby, back into my arm. We're getting tired of hanging around, waiting around for our heads to the ground. I hear a gentle sound. I don't know if that maybe that references a girl. I don't know.
Well, yeah, obviously. We're getting tired of hanging around, waiting around with our heads to the ground. I hear a very gentle sound. Very near, very near. And then he starts talking about the earth.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. So I think he's talking about like his own personal badness, and then he's talking about
Our
societal
collective
badness, maybe.
Yeah.
What have they done to this earth? What did you think about that when he started singing about the earth?
I wondered if, you know, because he's looking at what he has done, and he's basically, like you said, saying, I'm going to have to cancel my subscription for the resurrection.
Yeah.
But then he talks about us all collectively, and he basically explains it like it sounds like, because in the previous songs he was talking about how like basically don't let people say I didn't love you. You know, so I think that he had it sounds like he, you know, women was his vice, but that he put, when he was with the one, she was the one. When he was with this one, she was the one. You know what I mean?
One of those fellas.
Right. But then what he says, he talks about the scream of the butterfly, but then he says, what have they done to the earth? Yeah. What have they done to our fair sister? Ravaged and plundered and ripped her and bit her, stuck her with knives in the side of the dawn. Which is such a crazy way of writing that. Tied her down with fences and dragged her down. And just like that sort of crazy depiction. But when he said stuck her with knives in the side of the dawn, I thought of, how like when somebody wants to preserve butterflies, how they'll like pin them. It's like, it's gross. Like, especially if you're a kid, it's really, really, like, I feel like a child can see the horror of it more than like an adult, especially a scientific adult who's looking at it like from that angle and not seeing, because there are so many elements to, like, human beings, there are so many elements to the earth, there are so many elements to creatures of the earth and stuff, and I think that sometimes like people just get so focused on, maybe just taking from the earth and not realizing how much damage we're doing to earth. And then you have people that talk about Mother Earth and stuff, so like this depiction of what, I don't know. I kind of felt like he was saying, like, well, everybody's bad because, yeah, I'm with all these girls, but I'm not doing this to them. But look what you're doing to the planet and everything on the planet,
Right. Well, it's really contrasted, too, because, people probably still had general Christian sensibilities in the 60s still. Mm-hmm. So there were probably still some judgment of him for having all these women.
Yeah.
But if you contrast it with, come back, baby, back into my arm. We're getting tired of hanging around. Very soft, very clear. Come today. And then it gets contrasted with, look at what we're doing to this woman. So there's two women that are being contrasted. One would be, in my mind, oh, here's this groupie, and I'm supposedly a bad person for cavorting with these groupies. But I'm being gentle. She's coming. I'm coming. We're both having a good time. Contrast that to, look how you're treating this woman, namely the earth.
Yeah.
And, your pollution is basically stabbed the knife into the side of the dawn, basically.
Right.
Like the dawn is now forever scarred with your pollution and all the rest of it. So I'm giving sexual pleasure and getting sexual pleasure from women. That's how I treat women. And the way that you treat the ultimate woman is by completely destroying her. And the language is almost the language of assault. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Tied her with fences, dragged her down. So I think that's being contrasted with how we're treating Mother Earth, or in this case, he calls the Earth his sister, which is very brilliant.
Yeah.
What have they done to our fair sister? That's really fascinating way to look at it. And then he says, Jesus,
save us.
Save us. Which is fascinating because you know me.
Yeah.
I was listening to one sermon about Krishna, and the big thing with the Bhakti folks is chanting, Krishna, Hare Hare, blah 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 blah. I mean, no disrespect, I just don't know the thing properly. But anyway, so they kept trying to get this guy to just say Hare Krishna, just say it, and the guy was like, no, I don't like your religion, blah blah blah, and then like years later, the guy stubbed his toe or something, and he said, man, fuck Krishna. And Krishna gave him liberation. I forgot what they call it when you attain nirvana or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he used his name. He said, "Fuck Krishna."
Oh yeah, you kind of view like that.
Oh, okay, you said it. All right, and he gives him enlightenment. Meanwhile, he's got all these goopies that are spending like 58 million lifetimes to try to. It was a very interesting way of looking at things. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, in this type of situation, like he's saying, "Jesus, save us." And my question is, theologically speaking, is that enough of a prayer to get him in your worldview? Because I know you always say that I make God into a big pushover or whatever. But I'm arguing that if there was any sincerity at all in that phrase, save us, Jesus, save us, that's enough. That's enough to get the guy in. Whether he intended to, quote, be a Christian or not. So that's what I'm arguing. What do you think about that?
Man, I don't know. I mean, because I don't think it's necessarily the words that somebody says. I think it's the intent of the heart.
Here's Amy Lee. Hare Krishna. So tough to remember, and he knows the full Bible. I do not have the full Bible memorized, you weirdo. And it's a specific chant. It's like,
Hare, hare. That one?
is it Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare, or something like that. And I don't want to butcher it because it's a very, very specific thing. So that's what I don't remember. Go ahead.
Jeez, I don't know. That's a tough one, I gotta say.
Why?
Because I think it comes down to, I don't think the words are necessary. I think that intent is necessary. And so if he was at a point where he recognized that, you know, like, I've effed up, the world has effed up, we've all effed up, Jesus save us. Like, yes, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if that qualified. But if it was just one of those things where, you know, sometimes people get so accustomed to using phrases that, you know, like, did it mean anything to him, or was it just, you know?
What do you mean?
Like, I don't know. I don't know where the original phrase "holy cow" came from. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it has something to do with, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, no, I mean, he's in a Western seats in Laban, and Jesus is always being presented as a savior figure. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is, if he had a mustard seed level of iman, that God would count that in his song as a genuine cry for salvation, and so that would be enough to get him in.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
Well, how could you argue against that?
I didn't hear the last sentence that you just said, because
he said what I'm saying is, if he had like a grain of iman, like real faith that somehow, some way Jesus could save us.
Oh.
From all of this shit, but he just doesn't believe.
Oh, well,
Christian
then, yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's just kind of like a stab in the, like a random stab in the dark, but if he had a single ounce of iman in his heart when he was writing that line or saying it, that in and of itself would be enough.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. And I'm not even sure. So there's this parable in the Bible where basically, like, this guy goes out, he needs people to work for him, and he hires somebody at the beginning of the day, and he says, I'll pay you a day's wage to do this or that thing. And the person agrees and goes off to work. 2 hours later, he goes back out, circles around. He says, finds more people. I'll give you a day's wage if you work the day in my field. So they go, but obviously they have 2 less hours that they have to work because they got hired later. And this keeps happening throughout the day until finally the last person is hired that has to do very little because it's at the end of the day. But he still says, I'm going to pay you a day's wage. And then when he goes to pass out the wages, the person that worked all day for a day's wage is really upset about it because they're like, I friggin' worked for all that amount of time.
Right.
And you just paid that person that worked less time than me, way less time than me, the same amount that I got paid. How is that fair? And he basically tells them, you were paid what you were told you were going to get paid. What does that person's pay have anything to do with you, you know, basically. And so I guess, you know, thinking of that parable, you could look at that as like, I mean, I don't know exactly what Jesus was trying to teach in that parable, but you could look at it as a faith thing. Like, okay, I spent a lifetime, like, pouring into my faith and making decisions, difficult decisions based off of my faith. And I made it in. Well, here this person just, you know, off a whim says, perhaps Jesus can save us, and says a word, and they end up in. Right. You know, like, you could almost see that parable would work in that situation. So, yeah. And he said, and they said, if, you know, I think Paul's writings, but maybe Jesus said it as well. Like, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, which if you've ever seen a mustard seed, it's a very tiny seed, just a little tiny bit, you can move a mountain, you know, and obviously, I mean, who knows? But I mean, like, faith is very powerful. And so, yeah, I mean, you can move a mountain. Like, yeah, I think that, yeah, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, because for me, I've never done anything with 100% sincerity in my life.
Right.
Relative to God. So it's always been a mixture of my craziness with some level of sincerity. Mm-hmm. So I was at, 55% sincerity, and he was at, 0.04. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If the point, so my thing is, let's say that in his motives, that the Jesus save us line was 98% sarcasm. Mm-hmm. If there's 2% of that that's real, that God accounts that as righteousness, is what I say.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Because if that isn't true, then I'm screwed. because not even my faith is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, it was a very, very fascinating conversation with all of our Reformed friends. They say believers in cheap grace and that's because they're so confident in their in their iman.
I used to that used to worry me, okay, some of these great people would say that that's not true, but then I realized that the Jonathan Edwards and the people like that, they are brought in without nobody's questioning that, and they own slaves, and they defended the fact that they own slaves, and slavery it's forbidden in the scriptures like that. So I mean, and man stealers and all that different stuff that they were involved in. I got it.
Who steals a man shall be executed, and the one found in possession of the man should also be executed. Exodus 21. So
and he's a pastor. He knew all that, and he still went along with it. And there are, I mean, people don't question whether or not Jonathan Edwards is there. So I'm like, okay, this just comes down to different people's biases and the sins that they are able to say, okay, that's
that they
unacceptable.
can stomach or tolerate.
Right, exactly.
Or that are common to them.
Right, exactly.
So because you don't have gender dysphoria, you're going to go and say that all trans people are absolutely barred from the kingdom.
Yeah.
But because you're a greedy motherfucker, that Donald Trump is okay.
Right. Yeah.
But
okay.
But yeah, so all my LGBT friends are straight to hell, unless they stop being gay. But meanwhile, Donald Trump can struggle with greed. Yeah. Remember I tell you about that? That guy struggles with murder.
Yeah, ridiculous. Come on.
Where do you get the song?
9.4.
9.4. Okay, dear listener, we are coming right back.
Wait, what'd you give it?
I give this a 9.5. Listen, Missy, this is more important than that.
Yeah, I know.
Okay?
I know.
All right, having said that, dear listener, we still have more doors on the way. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.